Welcome to Thoroughbred 360, insights, stories and strategy from the commercial world of thoroughbred racing with your host, Bruce Slade. Welcome to episode 21. Great to be back, everybody, after an Easter break. Hope you all had a terrific time with friends, with family. Plenty of epic Easter egg hunts, hopefully carried out at your place. There certainly were. With Tash and I and the Slade family here in Queensland. This is, of course, Thoroughbred 360. This is where we review the biggest performances, results on our commercial thoroughbred racing and breeding industry here in Australasia. And the last fortnight, well, there's been some big performances, of course, some huge race meetings, the championships, the very biggest and best that Australia has to offer in the autumn in Sydney. And there were some big values made, some big success stories. So let's start and talk through them all. Let's start at the top. The richest race of the autumn is the QEII. It's been a great race meeting, of course, built around the championships. It's a $5 million contest, and this year it was a race that attracted more public interest than ever, with Autumn Glow, the unbeaten mare, heading that way, trying 2,000 metres for the first time, and certainly she was beaten, but certainly lost no admirers, running third, beaten just over 2 lengths by Sir Delius in this race. Just a quick touch on Autumn Glow. Great to see the crowd there. Great to see the support for her, the colours, Chris Waller, James McDonald. Terrific for our sport. Yes, she was beaten, but boy, was it a brutal race. A real stamina test, a real test of sustained speed over the full 2,000 metre course. Not to say Autumn Glow can't win these Group 1 races at 2,000 metres in the future, but probably needs a different setup, softer mid-race sectionals. Looking at what Daniel O'Sullivan produced today, light infantryman basically ran this race in Pride of Jenny style tactics, front running fast, high speed. Of course, he dropped out, but Sir Delius, he was able to ride the pace just 3 lengths off light infantryman, and his sustained class, his stamina, his speed was just too much to reel in for Autumn Glow and for Lindemann, as it turned out. The race put a real exclamation mark on Sir Delius' Stallion prospects. Of course, he is now a 3-time Group 1 winner, a winner of 7 races from just 13 starts. He's actually run top 3 on 12 of those 13 occasions. The only time he hasn't run a place in Europe and Australia is in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, where he, of course, ran 8th of 16. It was a very heavy track there that day, remember, in this world-class race. Of course, the Cox Plate of the Northern Hemisphere, the Arc. He was also just having a 6th start, was Sir Delius in that race. And as I mentioned, he was on very heavy going, and he was just a 3-year-old. So probably came too soon from that race, but that should have showcased the class this horse had. For Sir Delius to have run in that race and be actually quite a leading chance on betting too in that race at just the 6th start. He's, of course, carried that class down under, purchased by Sir Owen Glenn, Go Bloodstock, along with Side Gay and Adrian's clients, to come down here and race. He's now, as I said, won 3 Group 1 races from only 12 starts. Beautifully bred horse by Frankel, lovely female pedigree. He's actually Danehill free, which will help him a lot when he does end up going to stud. But more than anything, I think we take away from this horse and how we should look at him and his stallion prospects going forward is that he's a magnificent type. You see this horse in the flesh, he's got scope. He'd be 16-1, 16-2 hands, lots of quality, pure, that lovely dark rich bay, nice white marking on his head. He's a horse that will throw, good looking stock, but he's also a horse being Danehill free that's going to really suit our Australian speed mares. There's not a single doubt Snitzel, charge forward, snippets type style mares that we have so much of here. He's going to be A, be a great outcross for them, and B, be a great physical matchup for them. He's going to give those mares that little bit of stretch, that little bit of scope, and I'm picking he's a horse that can follow in the footsteps of the likes of the Autumn Sun, but have probably more genetic compatibility than the Autumn Sun. Another horse like Gaieth, the horse like even home affairs with his size and substance. This is the kind of horse that Delius is going to suit those same typey sort of mares. And when he does make his way to stud, which Touchwood won't be this season, he'll race on, of course, towards the Cox Plate in the spring. But when he does come to stud, he's going to be a horse that will just be so compatible with the Australian broodmare population when he does eventually retire to stud. Another colt that really accentuated his value, probably more so than any other colt in the last 2 weeks, was Campione D'Italia, the champion of Italy, as it is, of course, translated in English, for Newgate, for China Horse Club, for that colts group, for Jerry Harvey's Barrymore stud, of course, who bred this horse and retained an interest in this horse. He was huge in obviously winning the Skyline on the way to the Slipper, where he got back and was monstrous in fourth, probably a little bit unlucky that day in the Slipper. He's then backed that performance up with a big win in the Group 1 size produce stakes at 1,400 metres. And of course, leading into this weekend as favourite for the Group 1 Champagne Stakes over a mile. Beautiful animal, this horse, Campione D'Italia, by Snitzel, out of a Medaglia mare, who of course is a daughter of that top 2-year-old in Military Rose. So she, of course, by General Nadim. So a lot of speed, a lot of class, a lot of international flavour, as well as Australian speed on his female side, and of course by Snitzel, who has just been an absolute star. Another Group 1 winner for him. Alongside that same weekend, of course, produced Aurum Bell to win the Jim Crack in the West as well. So Snitzel, just an incredible sire, and as we've said before in this podcast, he's got a huge group of talented Group 1 sons at stud now. The likes of Trapeze Artist, Russian Revolution doing a great job, but the likes of Switzerland and Shinzo and Wild Rule are coming through the ranks too, and Campione D'Italia, the next one on that conveyor belt of success for Snitzel, and no doubt a conveyor belt of sire sons for Snitzel who will take his name into the future. It's this time of year, of course, where all the stud farms in Australasia start to announce their stallion rosters, announce their service fees for 2026. And just as a quick overview of the market, it seems like it's going to be it seems like it's going to be a year where we don't see a large number of Group 1 sires retired to stud. So there's going to be a lack of first crop sires or Group 1 elite top class sires for stud. And I liked the announcement of Delacroix for Coolmore, Australia last week. Of course, the son of Dubawi, we've seen what a great job they've done over here through the likes of Tudan Hot and Gayeth. And I think those two stallions give us a great line on Delacroix himself. So Delacroix is by Dubawi, champion 3-year-old, multiple Group 1 winner, a horse that really was an elite horse at the very top level of Europe. A sharper horse than Gayeth. Gayeth was a horse that was winning his Group 1s at 2,400 metres, a mile and a half. Delacroix very much a 2,000 metre specialist, and Tudan Hot probably more so a speed horse. He was a Group 1 winning 2-year-old or 3-year-old from 1,200 metres to a mile. So, I think that gives you a good snapshot of where Delacroix fits in terms of those sons of Dubawi. Another good line is his rating of 129 plus. So 129 time form rating. Gaius sat at 133. Tudan Hot at 127. Shows you the kind of class that this horse has. On top of that, he's Danehill free. On top of that, he has got scope. He's got length. He's more a Gaius style than he is a Tudan Hot style. He's going to suit those neat, square, Aussie speed mares, which I think is a huge plus for him. He does look like a horse that's going to really suit those square mares, particularly through his hocks. But he's a horse with scope, with class, and a huge pedigree, of course. Not only a top racehorse himself, but his mother was a champion. Tepin, a 6-time Group 1 winner. And it's just a family littered with Group 1 success all the way through. So love this announcement, like his profile. Delacroix to make it here in Australia. Love his compatibility with the mares we have here in Australia as well and what they require. And love the price, $35,000 plus GST. Very similar price to Tudan Hot, who came in at $40,000 plus GST. So I think that's great value. And as I mentioned, with the lack of sort of Group 1 first crop size this year, he should be a horse that'll be extremely popular, and certainly a horse we'll be sending mares to within my bloodstock portfolio that I help manage. Another Group 1 first crop sire that we expect may be launched this season in 2026 is Devil Knight, and I thought he needed just to be touched on given his performances over the last few weeks. You know, probably a couple of months back, you're looking at this Hawks Racing trained galloper owned by Yulong as a sort of perhaps a one-hit wonder, a horse that won a Blue Diamond and won a very good Blue Diamond, might I say. He beat Tentris in that race, he beat Tempted in that race, My Gladiola, so it was a very good form race looking back, that Blue Diamond, but he hadn't done anything since, certainly not in the spring of his 3-year-old season. But he's come back at 4, and the Hawks team have done a great job to see him run a huge race in the Oakley Plate. Of course, he ran 4th there, but he really had a tough run in Trans. That wasn't the worst part of the track. Obviously carried some weight being a Group 1 winner, and I thought he was a really, really good run in that race, and he backed it up again on Saturday in the Group 2 Arrowfield Sprint. Of course, this is a 3-year-old sprint race, and for the top of their generation at this time of year. The race was won by Tempted. She was dominant. She was terrific. But again, I thought Devil Knight was really, really good again from the front, and stuck on gamely for second in that race. So he's a horse that's put a nice little bit of heat back on himself leading into the season. Very interesting to see where he is going to be placed in terms of price by the Yulong team. I mean, to be fair, he hasn't actually been announced to stud yet. They might even think that, these last couple of performances is worth racing him on. That could indeed be true. But if he does retire, looking forward to seeing what he stands for. I think he's a very interesting horse to be looking at. First crop sire, of course, by Extreme Choice, who's doing such a great job through Staying Side. As a sire of sires, of course, we know an elite stallion he is in his own right, Extreme Choice, and Devil Knight might just be a lovely, high-quality access to that blood in 2026. Other big racetrack successes that really moved the needle commercially for certain sires. I want to touch on Street Boss first. His 4th Group 1 winner of the season. That's more than any other stallion this year. Of course, he's a sire of Tempted, he's a sire of Tentris, he's a sire of Pericles, and now Green Space is a winner of the Derby for Bjorn Baker. Great scenes, great to see, and great for Godolphin. We've touched on it before, but wow, Street Boss, with his increase in service fee, has moved to the hunt, that increase in quality of mare. He's really done some job in Australia, has Street Boss, with that increased opportunity. Brutal had a really nice horse come out of the last couple of weeks, a horse called Sentimental Legend. Brutal, of course, been tapping away with multiple winners each week, doing a really nice job, but just wanted to see that next horse to follow up on Nepotism and to follow up on Harlem Queen and Jenny's Meadow, and he's got that horse now. Sentimental Legend, fair play to Grant and Alana Williams. Not only have they trained this big scopy son of Brutal to win 2 stakes races back to back, including the WA Derby on the weekend, but they also bred this horse, in fact, and he is out of a more than ready mare. It's been a really successful family for Grant and Alana. That, to be fair, they've built most of the value in the family through stake success as the trainers for the family, and this horse is untapped. He's just so big and raw and scopy, and he's winning on his ear there in WA. No doubt he'll have some nice ambitions there in the spring, but he does look like a horse that might make his way east in time too, and might be a really, really nice weight for age horse, just given his size and stature going forward. The Yulong Stallions enjoyed some nice success over the last couple of weeks. Of course, Tagaloa keeps doing a lovely job through Salty Pearl, through a new Group 1 place filly, and Miss Chanel, of course, second in the size produce stakes, a filly, of course, who I was involved in buying with Gay and Adrian, a filly that will run the Champagne Stakes this weekend too. A lovely filly, of course, bred and raised by Yulong. So Tagaloa keeps ticking over nicely, as does Lucky Vega. He was sort of that within the law, one-horse wonder. Had some nice winners, obviously a good horse stakes winner in New Zealand, group winner in New Zealand a few months back. He had another big result in Sydney in the Percy Sykes Stakes with Cherry Bombshell winning that race. So, obviously a horse that can get them up and running early, gets a nice 2-year-old, gets fillies and gets colts that train on too. So Lucky Vega keeping himself well and truly in the commercial eye for the time being. And Alabama Express, he side his 3rd stakes winner on the weekend of the Adelaide Guineas in McWoody. Had a huge sales season. Wanted to point this out with Alabama Express. There's a really good feel on them in the market. The buying bench really going after them. His colts are sold up to 800,000 this year. His fillies are sold up to 650,000. He's averaged 180,000. No doubt on the back of that terrific support from Yulong and quality mares, but also outside support and obviously the trainers like them, the agents like them, the syndicators like them, the owners like them. They're really going after them in the sales ring. And I thought that perhaps, if anything, he might be sort of outselling his actual performance to date. You know, this year he's produced, of course, Treasure of the Moment, who's been an absolute star for him. And then he had just the other stakes winner was Alibaba, who was a nice sort of Blue Diamond preview winner. But there wasn't much else. So nice to see a Guineas winner come out on the weekend for him. He's got lots of nice developing horses all around the place. And of course, as we know, the last 3 years, there hasn't been a horse in Australia cover more mares and more Group 1 winners on the back of that support from Yulong. So he is a horse that no doubt will continue to rise and continue to not only produce racetrack success, but continue on a sale ring success, which has been really obvious. His sales success has been really obvious. That's probably the right word for it this year. The market, as I say, really going after the progeny of Alabama Express. Zeus Star, our champion sire of last season, deserves a mention too. Over the last couple of weeks, of course, he's got his star, Jolly Star, who just keeps turning up and winning Group 1s each preparation. Amazing mare who now is headed to Royal Ascot. But Zeus Star also had another couple of stakes winners over the weekend. Of course, Plaintiff a couple of weekends ago. And he also had a stakes winner there in WA. So 2 new stakes winners for Zeus Star in the last couple of weeks, doing a lovely job. And a horse, as you know, outside of Extreme Choice, he signed the most $1 million plus yearlings at Easter in 2026. Staying side also deserves a mention, of course. Stands at Newgate, son of Extreme Choice. He had his filly Blue Door win the Kindergarten Stakes on debut. Very hard to do. Tough race that. She was on speed, kicked away. Lovely debut performance from this filly. She's out of a Piero mare. That takes Staying Side's first crop stats to 11 runners, 5 winners, which is more than any other 2-year-old sire in Australia. He's a leading first crop sire by winners and also stakes winners, 3 of those from just 11 runners and 4 stakes horses from 11 runners. And our filly Reaching Out, who was one of the favourites for the Percy Sykes, of course, very unlucky there too on Saturday not to get any room. And unfortunately, Regan Bayless in defeat did say that had she had some clear air, she was ready to explode. But that's another smart one for Staying Side. So a mention for him doing a really nice job is that young son of Extreme Choice at Newgate. Other sires with stakes winners that have, other young sires, I should say, with stakes winners over the last couple of weekends that have just kept themselves bubbling in there, kept themselves in the game. Farnan, profoundly, she was magnificent in the Oaks and obviously won the Adrian Knox leading in. And King's Legacy had a nice stakes winner in Regeneration for the Champion Thoroughbreds team there. And the other horse there that I wanted to mention is just keeping himself alive week in, week out, is Zeus with a new 2-year-old stakes winner there in South Australia and the Without Fear on the weekend too. So well done there. Right now is a really important time as breeders, as traders, to get ourselves set for the next 12 months. Of course, in May is when the big weanling sales will happen, the big mare sales will happen, and this is a time now to review your stock. Of course, if you're selling, they'll already be catalogued, already be put in those sales. But if you're buying, now's the time to, from a weanling perspective, work out the sales you're targeting, work out where the alphabets sit, and then work out, of course, where those nice weanlings that you like might end up fitting in those different sales you're targeting. Now, of course, first and foremost, you want to buy the right stock, buy the right weanling at the right value. And most of the time from there, you can work them into the right sale. But if you are or do prep them yourselves and you do only isolate yourselves to a few sales on the calendar, well, have a look at what those alphabets are. Have a look at where the weanlings that you like might end up fitting in, just so you can be ahead of the game there. From a broodmare point of view, if you're buying, now's a great time to take stock of the mares you are going to breed with in 2026. Of course, stud fees will be announced or are being announced now and will be for the next few weeks. But have a look at your mares team. One of the big things that'll put a ceiling on whatever whatever foal you breed is your mare. Yes, you have to get the stallion right. Yes, you have to get the type right, the raising right. There's all those things. But the mare you start with, you have a lot of control over that. You don't have so much control over where a stallion might get to in 2.5 years. You don't have as much control on type. You don't have much control on getting the raising things right and x-rays and veterinary aspects, of course. But you do have some control of those things. I'm not saying there's no control. That's you've got to try and get as much and weigh as much of that cost benefit in there as you can and get as much of the probabilities on your favor. But your mare you start with, you have full control of that. And that's where you need to be starting with a mare that on type you believe can get you a sales type, or a horse that's going to be, if you are breeding commercially, a horse that's going to get on second looks for buyers. And then from there you need, I think, at least 3 of the next 4 things are important for buyers. Your mare's age versus her breeding performance. So if she's a young mare, obviously she's not going to be judged as harshly. If she's a little bit older, she needs to have shown that she can at least produce Metro, Sydney, Melbourne class gallopers, if not stakes gallopers. Otherwise she will be heavily discounted in the marketplace. So mare age versus product of breeding performance. A mare's sire. Bad stallions can really put buyers off and literally go from having horses being on a shortlist to being taken off because they've had bad experience with the stallion. I'm not saying your mare has to be by a champion sire, but be at least by a stallion that's palatable, that's done a decent job, that's left Group 1 winners, that kind of thing. A mare's own race performance will be a huge value add or discount for you. We like to see, or the buying bench likes to see, mares that had a good race performance, Metro class or better. And finally, the buyers want to see a history of stakes class in a family. They want to show or know that a family can produce stakes class horses, and the closer up to that first dam that stakes results and success is, the better. So aim to try and at least tick 3 of those 4 boxes. Age or youth, mare youth versus performance, race performance, a mare's sire, so the dam sire of the resulting yearling, and lastly, black type within the first couple of generations. Try and get at least 3 of those 4 things in your favor. I hope that helps. There's so much to look forward to still with the racing through the end of the season. There's so much to talk about with regards to stallion announcements over the next few weeks, and there's so much pre-work to be done for the upcoming sales. So please reach out if I can help any more. Otherwise, please do follow us on all the social medias. Do follow us through our podcast channels. We look forward to bringing you lots more information, hopefully lots of insight that can help you over the coming months.